I'm Holly Higbee Jansen, and I teach Lightroom Quick Start and iPhone photography for the BPSOP School of Photography. I also teach workshops for Jansen photo expeditions. Today, we are going to be talking about 5 images from the BPSOP community. And let's get started. Hi, this is Holly Higbee Jansen, and I am going to critique a picture by Tom Dawson called Velvet Night. And he took this with his Nikon 3300 with a Nikon 18mm to 55mm, 3.5 to 5.6 zoom, mode manual, white balance cloudy, focal length 28mm, aperture f16, shutter speed 1/2 second, ISO 100, filter magenta, tripod used. He took this in Wichita Lake in Wichita Falls, Texas. The time of year was February at dusk. Tom says that he just purchased this camera, a kit, and went out to the lake to capture some sunset images. For this image, he crawled down a steep lake bank and set up his tripod along the water edge. He just read about how a slow shutter speed would smooth the rippling water to a silky smooth surface. So he adjusted his camera to the settings above, attached his newly purchased magenta filter, zoomed in a little to eliminate distant distractions, and attached his remote release cable to eliminate camera shake. He fired away several images at different settings and angles of views. This is the best image out of those captures that early evening that represent his intent to capture an eye-catching image. So I definitely agree with Tom. This is definitely an eye-catching image. Beautiful sky, nice soft water in the foreground, and nice and crisp posts within the water. And yeah, I really like what you've done with this, and for sure the sky really makes this, as well as so you used a magenta filter on this, so that's why we have quite the color of magenta in the sky. Very pretty. There's a couple of things that I would point out in this particular picture. Watch for your horizon line being a dead center in the picture. I know this is not dead center, but it's close to it. So the viewer needs to know what's the most important part of this image. Is the foreground and the water going to be the most important part of the image, or is the sky going to be the most important part? It's quite dark down on the lower edges of the water, so in my opinion I would think the sky would be a more important image. So you could probably crop out some of that lower portion of the water that's just completely dark. Also, I'm noticing that the picture does tend to go dark on the left side of the image as well. So over here on this side of the image, it tends to go very dark. So I would either try and enhance that somehow. You can brighten up the sky area here to give it a little bit more contrast. Or just for fun, you could even try and crop it. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. If we crop out just a little bit of the darkest areas in this picture and crop out the dark areas on the bottom as well, what I think is what we're left with is really the most dramatic parts of this image. So I'll show you what I'm talking about when we crop it out. You can see that you have a focal point that starts towards the front of the image and draws your eye back, as well as you can see this little mountain in the background. So that would be, and then it also takes care of our horizon line that we were talking about. So of course now we want to try and highlight the sky even more. So that's a little bit of feedback on this particular picture. You did a great job, especially if this was your first attempt at using more of a milky water effect. I think you did a great job. So thanks for submitting. Hello. The next picture I'm going to critique is called Expecting, and this is done by Monica. And she talks about this picture saying the couple is expecting their first child, and the sun was coming beautifully through the huge glass window. She did intensify the golden tone on the computer, And the reason why she liked this picture is they were both involved in building this place. That's why they chose this location for the photo shoot. She took it with her Nikon D750 with her Tamron 24-70 lens at 38 millimeter f11 and 1/400th of a second at ISO 400. So I think this is a really beautiful concept for this particular image, and it's a nice composition, very creative, and I'm sure that this couple is going to love this picture. A couple things I might try next time. Now you have it set at ISO 400, 400th of a second. Now, if you're shooting inside and you're shooting on a tripod, I would recommend shooting at the lowest ISO possible. So ISO 100 could give you a little sharper picture, even though this picture looks fine. Also, if you were to do your f-stop at f18 or higher, you have this great sunburst up in the top left-hand corner, but you would actually be able to get the rays of the sun that are refracting through the camera lens. So if you were to have a smaller aperture, that would be f18, f22, something like that, you would have a real defined rays of the sun. But I love the concept of the sun coming through the window like that. So here's a couple of ideas maybe for the next time. I love the shadows on the ground. You could even enhance those shadows a little bit, or even when you're shooting it, have more of the ground in front so that the shadows are more intense. Also, I think on this particular picture, I might even try to brighten their faces, or at least brighten the outline just a little bit so that you can see their faces. So I was even playing around a little bit with my layers. So if I was to bring in a levels tool, what I like to do is create a mask with a levels. So what I would do would be to open my levels palette and then actually add a screen, which actually brightens your picture up. And of course we don't want to go this bright with the whole picture, so I'm going to create a mask. So I'm going to fill with my background color, because you would fill with black, and that makes it go dark again. Now what I can do is I can just paint in areas of this picture that I want to highlight a little bit. So because I just want to highlight maybe their faces just a little bit, and maybe his body just a little bit. See how it just brightens it up a little bit, and you can see her arm, that it's on her stomach. So you can kind of see a little bit more of what they're doing. So that's just another way to selectively enhance your picture using a layer mask. And I think those are my main concepts with this particular picture. Like I said, I love the idea. I love the dark and the light and the bright sun coming through. So great job, and keep shooting. Hello. The next picture I'm going to critique is called Sun in the City, and it's by Higbee. And this is what Higbee says about the picture. I have wanted to shoot on this bridge across the River Clyde in Glasgow, Scotland, for a contrast with much older bridges nearby. This was a very unusually hot and sunny day for the locality, and I wanted to capture the chic style that the bridge oozes from this view. Shot with a Canon 6D, Canon EF 24-105 lens, ISO 400, f11 at 1/1600th of a second. I realized after shooting this shot that I had not changed my ISO. We had just been shooting under an old bridge out of the sun, hence the ISO of 400. But I still like the shot as it captures the style and shape I was looking for. So this is definitely a very creative picture. I love the shapes And I had never actually seen this bridge before, so I went and Googled it, and I saw all the different shapes on the bridge. It's pretty interesting. I did also see some option to even shoot it, even with the model, but shoot it more from the side, so you even get more of that really dramatic shape. The the one comment, I mean, I love the way she's posing, and it kind of mirrors the shape of the bridge. But watch for the people in the picture that are walking by. That's a distracting element for sure. Um, and then also, when you're shooting something like this, um, be careful with cutting off the feet of the model, because that can be a little distracting. Um, and also, I would recommend shooting maybe a little bit towards a later afternoon. It looks like you're in the midday here. You'd have a little bit softer light on her, as well as on the, the sculpture itself. But I love the shapes and the concept here. And you even have a nice sky there in the background. I know you were saying that it was a nice clear day for that locality. So good job with that. And I love the concept. The next picture I'm going to review is by Tom Foster, and it's called Boston Harbor Moonrise. And this is what Tom says about his picture. It was taken at ISO 800, 72 millimeters at 4.3, f4.3, 1/8 of a second. Lumix 45 to 200 millimeter f4 to 5.6 lens. I used a tripod, but I was on a floating pier with an occasional sailboat or water taxi passing by. I was trying to show an early evening moonrise when the print is well lit. It displays very nicely, but in ordinary room light it's too dark. When I print a lighter copy, it loses the early evening feeling. Is there any way to achieve a good display? There appears to be some chromatic aberration around the moon. I shot raw and tried to eliminate it both in Lightroom 5 and Photoshop 6. Neither seemed to touch the red color. Thank you for reviewing this photo. So I love the moon and the time of day that you shot this. It looks like, you probably shot it half an hour or an hour right after sunset. So you have that nice color in the sky. You've got a great reflection of the moon, and a good sky too here. So I think there's quite a bit to work with in this particular picture. And I do have some feedback for you on it. Now, you did shoot it at ISO 800. It is still a little bit noisy, which will happen in a dark situation. Now, you shot it at f4.3, and I was wondering what the reason was for that. Probably so that you could let in more light with the moon. So 1/8 of a second. You might want to, play around with a smaller aperture, but I can see why you did that, because you're letting in more light. You'd probably have a clearer, crisper image with a little bit smaller aperture. The one thing that I would do, I'm showing this to you in Lightroom because you had specifically talked about that you tried to eliminate your chromatic aberration in Lightroom, and I do teach the Lightroom class. It's called Lightroom Quick Start. So I wanted to show you some of the things that I would do to this picture in Lightroom. The sky here is quite dramatic, and I think that might be part of your situation where it's not printing well. I think I might enhance the sky a little, so I would use this, the filter, the graduated filter, and actually select the sky and actually play around with the exposure a little bit in the sky, so I can bring out some more drama in the sky, so then it will print out better, I believe, if you have a little bit more drama. I also noticed that a lot of times, even if your monitor is calibrated, sometimes even a dark picture will turn out darker when it's printed. So keep that in mind. So here I'm going to add a little clarity, which is going to add some detail to the clouds. And I like to just go through some of the basic sliders and play around to give us a little bit more detail in the clouds and in the sky there. So you can already see, the sky. I've lightened up the sky just a little bit bringing in a little bit more detail. So what I'm also seeing is quite a bit of noise in the sky. So the next thing that I would do is I would actually go down to our detail panel, and we can sharpen it just a little bit to bring in some more detail. But as you sharpen it, you can see right here that it's getting noisier. So I am going to actually go into my noise reduction and bring in a little bit of noise reduction here. And you can see that it's actually sharpening up the boats quite a bit. If I go down to my noise reduction in color, let me zoom in on this a little bit for you, and put the color slider, and there you go, you get rid of the red around the moon. So that's where the red came from. It's a noise. It's a color noise. So I just kind of want to try and diminish a little bit of this noise without making the picture too soft. And if I go back to my regular size, you can see that I've sharpened it up quite a bit, gotten rid of some of the noise here. And so let's talk about the composition a little bit. If you've taken any of my classes, you know that I'm pretty much of a stickler for composition, especially when you have horizon lines that are pretty much dead smack in the middle on a picture. You're telling your viewer that you're not really quite sure what's most important in the picture. Is the sky more important? Is the ocean more important? And obviously the moon and the reflections and all this is the real focus for the picture. And it's very difficult to separate your elements when you're in a harbor situation and you have a lot of different boats, but I always try to separate my elements. So maybe one idea would be you could even create a vertical. So I actually went in and created a vertical of this picture, so that we have the moon, which is obviously our star of the picture. I've enhanced the sky a little bit and then really simplified the composition quite a bit. This one little boat on the left side is a little bit cut off, but I think it simplifies it quite a bit. So we went from this to a vertical. So it's just an idea, but I would for sure enhance your sky quite a bit. You can actually go in as well with your individual adjustment brush, and I can go in and I can adjust the sky a little bit here as well. So I'm just painting in with my adjustment brush, and then I can affect the exposure in the sky here just a little bit too to brighten up the contrast and the highlights in the clouds. So there's lots of ways to just paint with light. The other thing that's kind of fun when you have a neat reflection like this is also you can enhance your reflection with this adjustment brush also. And I can just add a little bit of, I don't want to add too much, but just add a little bit of detail on that as well. Enhance your reflection a little bit. So this was a fun picture to play with, and I think you did a great job with it. And I hope that these little tips helped you a bit. Thanks. The next image I'm going to talk about is called Pristine Antarctica. This was done by Michael D. Michael says about this picture: our experience in Antarctica was highlighted by several kayak excursions in several calm bays. A few flurries, some sunshine, some blue skies, and that says it all. This shot is a frame from a video taken by my GoPro strapped to my head while in the second kayak seat. So this is a really fun image, and I love the story behind it that you took this picture with your GoPro. So I thought that's very cool. This is definitely something that I would love to do. This is on my bucket list for sure. And I like the action and the whole feel about being there. I can even see, looks like some people on the beach, so there's good scale in this picture as well. So the only thing that I would change with this picture is to try and straighten the horizon a little bit. The horizon line is throwing me off, and I know it's probably because it was shot with a GoPro, and it's kind of the angle, maybe it's the angle of the water, I'm not sure, but because I teach the Lightroom Quick Start program with BPSOP, I thought I would show you what I would do in Lightroom to just enhance this picture a little. So I would go to, would just straighten the horizon a bit, like I said, and the only line that I'm following on the horizon is this one over here along the left side, and I think it gives you a little bit better perspective as to what's happening. The other thing I might do is try and pull some definition out of the sky, and we do that with this adjustment filter here. And if I drag this filter down and play with your exposure a little bit, there really is not much definition in the sky, but I do actually like even a little bit of a gradation in the sky. Even when the sky is completely gray, it just gives you a little bit more to hold on to. And I might do a little bit of post-crop vignetting, just a little bit to bring in the focus on the center of the picture, and a little bit of sharpening. It looks like it has been sharpened. Yeah, I might just sharpen it up a little bit, and we'll just watch for halos when you start sharpening. So you can see I think it has already been sharpened. And the one other thing that I might do with this is I might enhance the blues just a little bit, just for fun. That blue color in the ice is definitely there, and sometimes it's fun to just enhance it just a tiny bit, not to be unnatural at all. So anyway, that's what I would do with that picture. I think it's great, and you did a great job with it, and kudos to going to Antarctica.